Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston. We start what I think is the shortest chapter in the book, the Voyage of Maeldun. Besides the legends which cluster round heroic names and have, or at least pretend to have, the character of history, there are many others, great and small, which tell of adventures lying purely in regions of romance and out of earthly space and time. As a specimen of these, I give here a summary of the Voyage of Maeldun, a most curious and brilliant piece of invention, which is found in the manuscript entitled The Book of the Dun Cow, about 1100 of the Common Era, and other early sources, and edited with the translation which I owe the following extracts by Dr. Whitley Stokes in the Revue Celtique for 1888 and 1889. It is only one of a number of such wonder voyages found in ancient Irish literature, but it is believed to have been the earliest of them all, and a model for the rest, and it has had the distinction, in the abridged and modified form given by Joyce in his old Celtic romances, of having furnished the theme for the Voyage of Maeldun to Tennyson. I hope to get some copies of Tennyson stuff and share it, who made it into a wonderful creation of rhythm and color, embodying a kind of allegory of Irish history. It will be noticed at the end that we are in the unusual position of knowing the name of the author of this piece of primitive literature, though he does not claim to have composed, but only to have put in order the incidents of the voyage. Unfortunately, we cannot tell when he lived, but the tale as we have it probably dates from the 9th century. Its atmosphere is entirely Christian, and it has no mythological significance except in so far as it teaches the lesson that the oracle injunctions of wizards should be obeyed. No adventure, or even detail of importance, is omitted in the following summary of the story, which is given thus fully because the reader may take it as representing a large and important section of Irish legendary romance, apart from the source to which I am indebted, the Revue Celtique. I know no other faithful reproduction in English of this wonderful tale. And let us remember that well, certainly the obeying of the wizard stuff is a spiritual remnant, but it'd be interesting to know what these tales were like before they were stripped of a lot of their spiritual value to be passed around Christians. The Voyage of Maeldun begins as Irish tales often do, by telling us of the conception of its hero. There was a famous man of the sept of the Owens of Arran, named Elil Edgebattle, who went with his king on a foray into another territory. They encamped one night near a church and convent of nuns. At midnight, Elil, who was near the church, saw a certain nun come out to strike the bell for nocturnes, and caught her by the hand. In ancient Ireland, religious persons were not much respected in time of war, and Elil did not respect her. When they parted, she said to him, "Whence is thy race, and what is thy name?" Said the hero, "Elil of the Edge of Battle is my name, and I am of the Owenacht of Arran in Thomond." Not long afterwards, Elil was slain by reivers from Likes, who burnt the church of Duclune over his head. In due time, a son was born to the woman, and she called his name Maeldun. He was taken secretly to her friend, the queen of the territory, and by her Maeldun was reared. Beautiful indeed was his form, and it is doubtful if there hath been in flesh any one so beautiful as he. So he grew up till he was a young warrior and fit to use weapons. Great then was his brightness and his gaiety and his playfulness. At his play he outwent all his comrades in throwing balls and running and leaping and putting stones and racing horses. One day a proud young warrior, who had been defeated by him, taunted him with his lack of knowledge of his kindred and descent. Some there used to be places that there was in the 90s, there was a old Egyptian man who had some remnants of 8,000 something BCE, was as far back as he traced the line. It was interesting. It was rendered into Arabic, which doesn't have all the sounds of the ancient Egyptian, but lineages are not as important things to pass on, but it is interesting, the sort of things that people used to know in their oral histories. Maeldun went to his foster mother, the queen, and said, I will not eat or drink till thou tell me who are my mother and my father. I am thy mother, said the queen, for none ever loved her son more than I love thee. But Maeldun insisted on knowing all, and the queen at last took him to his own mother, the nun. Well, even back then, people became nuns because they had misbehaved and were trying to either cover up or make up for what they did. Who told him, Thy father was Elil of the Owens of Aran. Then Maeldun went to his own kindred and was well received by them, and with him he took as guests his 3 beloved foster brothers, sons of the king and queen who had brought him up. After a time, Maeldun happened to be among a company of young warriors who were contending at putting the stone in the graveyard of the ruined church of Duclun. And after a flood, or was it a flood? The story of Muhammad, and they say, who's going to put the stone? And he was the person to put the black stone back in place after the walls kind of came down and they were fixing the place. That type of story, I guess. Maeldun's foot was planted as he heaved the stone on a scorched and blackened flagstone, and one who was by, a monk named Brickne, said to him, It were better for thee to avenge the man who was burnt there than to cast stones over his burnt bones. Bricrin of the Poison Tongue, the mischief maker of the Ultonians. Of course, people have shared, names get repeated in different people. Who was that? Asked Maeldun. Elil, thy father. They told him. Who slew him? Said he. Reavers from Likes, they said, and they destroyed him on this spot. Then Maeldun threw down the stone he was about to cast, and put his mantle round him, and went home, and he asked the way to Likes. They told him he could only go there by sea. The Arons are 3 islands at the entrance of Galway Bay. They are a perfect museum of mysterious ruins. At the advice of a druid, he then built him a boat, or a coracle of skins, lapped threefold, one over the other, and the wizard also told him that 17 men only must accompany him, and on what day he must begin the boat, and on what day he must put out to sea. So, when his company was ready, he put out and hoisted the sail, but had gone only a little way when his 3 foster brothers came down to the beach and entreated him to take them. Get you home, said Maeldun, for none but the number I have may go with me. But the 3 youths would not be separated from Maeldun, and they flung themselves into the sea. He turned back lest they should be drowned, and brought them into his boat. All, as we shall see, were punished for this transgression, and Maeldun condemned to wandering until expiation had been made. Irish bardic tales excel in their openings. In this case, as usual, the mise en scene is admirably contrived. The narrative which follows tells how, after seeing his father's slayer on an island, but being unable to land there, Maeldun and his party are blown out to sea, where they visit a great number of islands and have many strange adventures on them. The tale becomes, in fact, a cento of stories and incidences, some not very interesting, while in others, as in the adventure of the island of the Silver Pillar, or the island of the Flaming Rampart, or that where the episode of the eagle takes place. The Celtic sense of beauty, romance, and mystery finds an expression unsurpassed, perhaps, in literature.